Namaste nerds, this is Navana, the Budget Pub Stomper, and today we're going to be talking about Kaalia of the Vast. I absolutely love this commander, have loved this commander since the first time I saw her. I sort of jumped directly into CEDH and then budget competitive, and never really got to play in an environment where Kaalia was the boogeyman or one of the boogie women of the format. Although I will say that she does make a fairly reasonable CDH deck, and I've actually noticed that she's been putting up some results in CDH tournaments recently, which is one of the reasons that I decided to go back and revisit her as a budget competitive commander. And as a budget competitive commander, I thought she'd be pretty good, but then as I started actually building the deck, I was surprised just how much we're able to do with this commander and with the deck for $99.87. We got some really good reprints and new printings that have made this deck come together in ways I wasn't expecting to be able to squeeze all into one $100 deck. So I've been goldfishing. I just built this deck literally yesterday from scratch, and it's been in goldfishing, it's looked really good. It's been really, really good. Definitely went beyond my expectations. So let's talk about what she does. If you're not familiar with her, I mean, I'm sure you are, but she is for 1 in a Mardu. So she's 4 mana, 2/2 flying, and when she attacks an opponent, you can put an angel, demon, or dragon from your hand onto the battlefield, tapped and attacking. So this is a way to cheat a tremendous amount of mana and set up kind of sometimes intricate and always interesting combos. And I don't know which one to start with. We're actually going to be so this is going to be a commander deck that straddles the line between commander centric and commander agnostic really well. I think I did a good job when I was iterating and reiterating on the deck of making a deck that really takes a lot of advantage of Kaalia, while at the same time being a fully functional deck without Kaalia. So she's probably plan A, but she won't always be plan A, depending on your depending on your opening hand. You may have a Kaalia hand, and you may just have a breach hand or a reanimator hand. So it's kind of difficult to say exactly what the main plan of the deck is, but let's just go with the kind of the one that might have brought you to the video, and that's going to be using Kaalia to cheat out something ridiculous and winning the game on the spot, or one-shotting a player straight away. Let's talk about that. This is something really interesting about the deck. Let's talk about the one-shot potential. Okay, so we do have some cards like Crashing Drawbridge that can come down ahead of Kaalia, so that as soon as you play your Kaalia, you can immediately go to swings, and I think that's going to be kind of important for being able to use her before the table is just kind of like, nope, we got to get rid of that thing, and takes her out. So we've got Crashing Drawbridge, and we've also got Lightning Greaves. I think I ended up getting rid of the Swiftfoot Boots, but that was it was a mana thing, and a little bit of a budget thing. I was really tight trying to squeeze the last couple of cards in and come in under the $100 budget. But I thought also just the fact that equipping the Swiftfoot Boots costing 1 means that maybe it's just not worth the $2 or whatever it was in the budget, when we've got other things we can use, like Blacksmith Skill, Surge of Salvation. We've got ways to make sure that Imp's Mischief, to make sure that we can protect our Kaalia. Yeah, so sometimes Ricochet Trap will fill that role. But I want to talk about the one shot. I think this is a really neat thing. Now, this isn't the most powerful thing she can do, but it is a powerful thing that she can do. So we get our, say, Crashing Drawbridge in play. Then maybe turn 3, we drop our Kaalia. we give it haste, and we find the player that is most likely to be a problem for us in the game, and we attack that player. Maybe we've got our benevolent bodyguard in play, so we can protect our Kaalia. Maybe we've got an extra mana up, and we've got Surge, or a couple mana and Imp's Mischief, or Blacksmith Skills, so something to protect our Kaalia. Or we just have boots on it, and never mind the drawbridge. You get the idea. We're ready to attack with a protected Kaalia, and we put eyes on the threat, the player at the table that's maybe most likely to win fastest, or most likely to stifle our win attempts, the player that we just need to get rid of, and we swing at that player, and Master of Cruelties is in our hand. Maybe we tutored for it, or probably not. Probably this is a plan you're going to use just if you happen to have this in your opener, or draw into it before you cast your Kaalia. Master of Cruelties says it can only attack alone. So normally that's a problem and avoids this kind of combo thing that I'm about to talk about. But Kaalia's ability doesn't actually care about that. So Kaalia can cheat it into play already attacking, so it doesn't ever actually have to be declared an attacker, and so there's nothing stopping you from attacking somebody with Kaalia, and then dropping Master of Cruelties into play, also attacking the same player. It says whenever Master of Cruelties attacks a player and isn't blocked, that player's life total becomes 1. Now it says Master of Cruelty assigns no combat damage this combat. Doesn't matter. So if we have an open lane, we have our victim picked out, we've got Master of Cruelties in our hand, we swing Kaalia at that opponent. We cheat in the Master of Cruelties, who hits with the first strike, not damage, but just takes that person's life total immediately to 1, and then Kaalia hits for 2, finishing the job. Now that 1-2 punch was exactly what they were trying to avoid by adding this little bit of text that says Master of Cruelties can only attack alone. But again, Master of Cruelties is never being declared an attacker. We are just putting her, him, it, they, them onto the battlefield already attacking. And so we can just one-shot a player out of the game, maybe turn 3. We just take out the player that we feel was going to be the biggest problem for us. So that's a cool little $3 interaction in the deck that I think is, you might even try it in CEDH. If you're playing a full power deck, maybe it wouldn't make the cut. There's been a lot of really powerful cards printed in the last couple of years, so I imagine this doesn't make the final cut, because you'd really most of the time rather just murder everybody. But this is a really good way to get on the board, make your presence known, and take somebody out and kind of put yourself in a vaulted forward position, right? Take out the guy that was going to be the biggest problem for you straight away before they can muck around in your affairs or set up anything that would be detrimental. All right, so that's the coolest. That's probably the coolest. I don't know, that's one of the coolest things. There's a lot of cool things we can do. Maybe Hoarding Broodlord, Razaketh are like tied for second and third in cool wins. And then the maybe most effective is the Underworld Breach. And all of this just really works really well together. So if you're not familiar with how the Hoarding Broodlord thing usually wins, there's a couple of different lines. I don't know how much time I'm going to spend. There's a deck tech that I did for... I'm actually going to look this up because I want to point you in the direction if you want to see exactly how this combo works. Let's see. All right, found it. It's the Valgavoth Precon to Pub Stomper. If you take a look at this video deck tech, it's going to show you exactly how to go through the 14-step Hoarding Broodlord Pinnacle Monk line. But it's going to start like this. If you have the Hoarding Broodlord in hand, and you have Kaalia ready to go, you swing with your Kaalia, you drop the Hoarding Broodlord into play. Hoarding Broodlord, when it ETBs, tutors something and it puts it in exile, and then you can cast it by convoking it. So the first thing you're going to get is going to be, and there's a couple different lines, maybe we'll just do the simple one. The simplest one is you're going to tutor up your saw in half, and then you're going to saw in half targeting the Hoarding Broodlord, which is going to make 2 copies of Hoarding Broodlord, both untapped. One of them is going to find Peer into the Abyss, and the other one is going to tutor up either Burnt Offering or Sacrifice. Now, in the Pinnacle Monk version of the combo, you'll need Burnt Offering. But if you get the Peer into the Abyss under one and your Burnt Offering exiled with the other, you can tap Hoarding Broodlord token to cast the Burnt Offering or Sacrifice, sacrificing the 8 mana value token, and it will be 8 mana value even as a token or a copy. And you're going to get 8 mana. Then you're going to convoke cast the Peer into the Abyss with the other Hoarding Broodlord, which means that'll reduce the cost of the Peer into the Abyss by 1, making it 6 instead of 7. So you'll end up having 2 mana floating, and it'll either be black or red, or some combination of black and red, your choice, as you draw half of your deck with mana floating in a deck that has rituals and efficient win conditions. So that should end the game for you. So that's one thing we can cheat out with Kaalia. Or we can cheat out Razaketh. And Razaketh will probably more often be the go-to. You've got, well, I guess you've got exactly 1 extra tutor where you can, even early in the game, you can Demonic Council, putting Razaketh in your hand, even if you don't have Delirium. This allows you to tutor for any demon and put it in hand. So you tutor your Razaketh to hand, go to combat, swing with your Kaalia, drop the Razaketh into play, bang somebody for 8 straight away, and then all of your little creatures can be sacrificed as tutors. And you're going to tutor up some rituals. Oftentimes the first thing you'll tutor for is going to be Gleeful Demolition. If you've ever seen like the TNT or my Armix Thras versions of Razaketh, one of the key cards in that deck is Life Death. And yeah, the death part allows you to animate the Razaketh, but the life part for 1 green mana turns all of your lands into 1/1 creatures. And so if you've got 4 lands in play, now you've got 4 free tutors. Gleeful Demolition does a very similar thing in this deck. So you'll destroy one of your rocks, or doesn't matter, destroy one of your artifacts, maybe your Strike It Rich treasure token. You'll get 3 1/1 Phyrexian Goblins, and that means you're going to have 3 free tutors. And that might look like tutor for Simian Spirit Guide, and then tutor for Dark Ritual, and you're off to the races, right? So that's very cool thing 1, Master of Cruelties, 1-shot. Cool thing 2, Hoarding Broodlord, Peer into the Abyss, or there is a win line where you'll use Hoarding Broodlord to find Pinnacle Monk and Burnt Offering. After you whack it, turn it into 2 with the what's this guy called, Deadpool Saw in half. You can get your Burnt Offering and your Pinnacle Monk. You can convoke cast the Burnt Offering on one of the tokens to make 8 mana in some combination of red and black, and then the other one's going to have Pinnacle Monk. You can cast the Pinnacle Monk to get back your Burnt Offering, and then do that again to the other, and now you've got a Pinnacle Monk that you can, you'd first get, see, this is why I didn't want to go over this, because it's complicated, but the Pinnacle Monk, to put it, I guess, in the simplest, to kind of just give you the idea, the feel for the combo, you're going to end up using Burnt Offering and Saw in half, and you're just going to kind of go back and forth. Pinnacle Monk's going to come into play, grab your Saw in half. The Saw in half is going to make 2 Pinnacle Monks. The 2 Pinnacle Monks are going to grab Saw in half and Burnt Offering. You're going to convoke, or you're going to cast the Burnt Offering to sacrifice the Pinnacle Monk for 5 mana. Sawing it in half, getting back the Burnt Offering and the Saw in half, and it takes 4 mana to Saw in half and cast Burnt Offering, and it's going to produce 5 mana. So the end state is going to be infinite ETBs, infinite Pinnacle Monks, and infinite recasts of whatever's in your graveyard. including the Hoarding Broodlord, which can tutor out whatever win condition you're actually trying to go for. So yeah, I go into it in a lot more detail and actually show it in the Valgavoth Precon update video. Watch that if you want to see exactly how the Pinnacle Monk combo works. Other cool shit. Yeah, Razaketh. We dropped the Razaketh, and we've got any creature, we sacrifice it, we find Gleeful Demolition, we cast that, we get 3 tutors, and then maybe we go for transitioning from that into our dual caster Twin Flame line or an Underworld Breach line. So the dual caster Twin Flame is just your cleanest, kind of easiest way to just actually literally end the game. That's going to be, you just have a creature in play, doesn't matter what it is, you can cast Twin Flame on Kaalia. So Twin Flame targeting Kaalia, hold priority, flash in Dual Caster Mage. The Dual Caster Mage is going to copy the Twin Flame, and the Twin Flame is going to copy a Dual Caster Mage, and the Dual Caster Mage is going to copy the Twin Flame, and the Twin Flame is going to copy the Dual Caster Mage, so on and so forth ad infinitum until you have infinite. Where is the Twin Flame? Right here. So Twin Flame copies a creature for 2 mana, and Dual Caster Mage copies a spell, and this costs 3 mana. So for 5 mana, you end up with an infinite army of hasty Dual Caster Mages, swing out and make everybody real dead, real nice and dead. So yeah, that's the main kill condition. Then you've also got an Underworld Breach line baked into this deck. And the Underworld Breach line, the main way you're going to win with Underworld Breach, and this just allows you to recast cards out of your graveyard. It's a 2-mana enchantment, gives all the things in your graveyard escape, where you can escape them by exiling 3 cards from your graveyard, and then paying whatever the mana cost is. So the main way you're going to basically do an infinite graveyard sculpt. So you're going to be able to, let's say you have 5 cards in your graveyard. When you start doing the combo I'm about to explain, you're going to end up with the 5 exact best cards that you want in your graveyard, so that you can just win the game. And most of the time, honestly, that's just going to be Dual Caster Mage and Twin Flame. That's your cleanest, and it can be Electra Duplicate and Dual Caster Mage, either way. So the main breach combo, the main Underworld Breach loop, the way you're going to get the ball rolling to where you can find your actual combo win con thing that you're kind of really trying to do, is going to be Stitcher's Supplier along with Culling the Weak. So let's say you've got your Underworld Breach in play, you've got 5 cards in your graveyard. You cast your Stitcher's Supplier. When it ETBs, you mill 3 cards. Now you've got 8 cards in your graveyard. Now you're going to, with the Underworld Breach in play, you're going to cast Culling the Weak, which is going to sacrifice your, as an additional cost, you sacrifice a creature. The creature is going to be the Stitcher's Supplier. So when you sacrifice the Stitcher's Supplier, you're going to mill 3 more cards into your graveyard. And now you're going to add 4 black mana, and you're going to be able to use the 4 black mana to recast the Stitcher's Supplier, milling more cards into your graveyard, and you're going to be able to use the cards that you're milling on ETB and when you sacrifice the Stitcher's Supplier to have enough fuel to infinitely, or as many times as you need to, recast the Stitcher's Supplier and recast your Culling the Weak. And so what this effectively does, it puts you in a situation where you make as much black mana as you could possibly need, and you effectively kind of draw your deck in a way. Now your end hand is going to depend on how many cards you started with in your graveyard, because you are burning through cards in your graveyard. While you're milling cards, you're also using those cards to escape and recast your Culling the Weak and your Stitcher Supplier. But you'll end up in a situation where you've got the exact cards that you need or want in your graveyard, and then you can win with those cards. So you're going to use the Stitcher Supplier Underworld Breach combo to set up some actual win condition. Again, usually that's just going to be the Dual Caster Mage Twin Flame combo. That's how you're going to... That's way number one. That's like your actual death punch. That's like your Thassa's Oracle Demonic Consultation in this deck. It's not like you're going to be necessarily just tutoring for those two cards and then winning the game with them. But that's not what people do in CDH with Thassa's Oracle and Demonic Consultation either. I mean, very rarely. Usually you're going to win with Food Chain. And, oh, by the way, now that I've Food Chained my entire deck, here's a Thassa's Oracle Demonic Consultation. It's going to be kind of like that. Like, a lot of what you're doing with this deck is really eventually going to end up with you just putting Dual Caster Mage and Twin Flame on the stack and winning that way. So some cards I would like to add to the deck. Let's see how much time we've got. We've got time. We can rant a little bit. There's some cards that I would like to squeeze into the deck, and maybe honestly it would be cutting the Master of Cruelties line. I think it's super cool. I do think it's effective, but man, I really want to get a Darcy in here. Dragon's Rage. The Dragon's Rage Channeler, if it were in this deck, where'd it go? Oh, I put it in considering. It was already in considering, guaranteed. All right, so the DRC, it's gonna work well with your overall strategy, and it's gonna dull out a lot of damage. And this deck is very capable of going to beats and just murdering people the old-fashioned way. But the really nice thing is when you're going through your breach lines, the Dragon's Rage Channeler says whenever you cast a non-creature spell, like, I don't know, Culling the Weak, you get to Surveil. And so that's going to put one additional card into your graveyard every iteration, which is just going to make it a lot easier to... Well, it's going to put you in a much easier position to not only go for your win, your combo, your actual kill condition, but to have backup for it. Like to be able to back it up with a... Blacksmith Skill, Imp's Mischief, Ricochet Trap, some way of stopping your opponents from stopping you. So that's one I would look to squeeze in. If you're not on a strict $100 budget, probably I'd put that in. And the other one that I really would like to have in here is Mayhem Devil. And I don't even know which one is more important to the strategy. Oh, Mayhem Devil's only 40 cents. We're doing a real-time ad here, kids. I thought it was like $1 something. Mayhem Devil, bang, in. Okay, now we just have to chop any card out. Could be Mindblade Render. I think that's my first. My first thought is the Mindblade Render. Impulsive Pilfer can be pretty nice. Fueling our Razaketh. Yeah, the Encore can be helpful. To get some more dudes out and more mana. Yep, I think it's and plus there's a little bit of synergy between Impulsive Pilfer and Mayhem Devil. Mindblade Render, you are the weakest link. Bye-bye. There we go. And the importance of Mayhem Devil is, okay, so in a budget competitive situation, you're did I go to $100.12? No way. Update to cheapest. Come on, one time. There we go. Got there. Sweet. All right. So, not sure what I was saying. Mayhem Devil is a really good piece for helping you to control the battlefield, especially in a budget competitive situation, because there's going to be a lot of green decks and a lot of decks with green in them, and all of them will run dorks, and being able to just ping down their dorks, very, very helpful. Our deck actually also does care about getting damage through, and Mayhem Devil is good about that. And sometimes we are just going to pile demons and dragons into play and just beat people to death. Maybe we Master of Cruelties the first guy, and then we just pound the other guys to death also. Could definitely come up. But you've also got... we want to be able to get through for damage, and a 3/3 is a big attacker. And if you have like a 3/3 Mayhem Devil attacker and you've got something like a Blood Pet or a Skirk Prospector or a Goldhound in play, then that threat of activation is going to make it so your opponents are going to be very reluctant to even put a 4/4 in front of your Mayhem Devil. So it's going to do a lot of damage. Oh, and if you've got Florian out, which Florian is sick in this deck, because you are doling out a lot of damage. Florian says at the beginning of your second main phase, look at the top X cards of your library, where the X is the amount of life your opponents have lost this turn, total, all of them. Then you exile one of those cards, and you put the rest on the bottom of your library, and you can play the exiled card this turn. This is going to look most of the time, I'd say, this is going to look an awful lot like just tutoring every turn, or something very close to that. I mean, if you hit somebody with a Razaketh and a Mayhem Devil and a Ping, even if Florian has Summoning Sickness, right? Because you don't have to attack with this guy to get these benefits. It helps. But if you've done 12 damage or something like that, or your opponents have lost, 40 life via Master of Cruelties, you can dig real deep with the Florian and find exactly the cards you need when you need it. What else? So the Pinnacle Monk has an ETB. The Runescarred Demon has an ETB. The Grim Servant has an ETB. The Hoarding Broodlord has an ETB. And Stitcher Supplier also has an ETB. So your cards Electro Duplicate and Twin Flame are usually pretty dead cards in a deck that's just trying to use them specifically and only to combo kill with Dualcaster Mage. But in this deck, they're actually really good cards. If you've got a Grim Servant in play, this is a tutor. Usually tutors up whatever you need. And then you've got a Twin Flame. You can just cast the Twin Flame to tutor a second time. And the Twin Flame would put another Grim Servant in play, and Grim Servant cares about your devotion to black, which would increase your devotion to black and make it just a little bit easier to find the thing that you're looking for. What you might be looking for, a lot of times your Kaalia is going to be dealt with. They're going to try to deal with Kaalia for sure. They're not going to like the idea of this thing being in play. And that's why we've got cards like Benevolent Bodyguard that we can put in play ahead of it, and we can sacrifice Benevolent Bodyguard to stop whatever means our opponent is trying to use to get rid of our Kaalia. We've got, in the same exact vein, we've got Blacksmith Skill. Target permanent gains hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. And we've got Surge of Salvation. You and permanents you control gain hexproof till the end of turn. Then you also prevent all damage that black and or red sources would deal to creatures you control. So these are protection spells, really. Ricochet Trap can, for either 4 or 1, depending on the situation, come in and act like a deflecting SWAT. Imp's Mischief, 2 mana, can be kind of like it's a 2 mana deflecting SWAT for all intents and purposes. But if you're not able to stick your Kaalia and keep her in play, you're not out of the game. You can still very easily transition with this deck into a just kind of standard reanimator deck, where we're going to use Final Parting to put either, Broodlord, Razaketh, whatever, one of our big Haymaker finisher demon dragon things into the graveyard with Final Parting, and we can find the what's it called? I think I have 2. Where's Persist? Thought I had Persist in here. Yeah, right there. So we can find Persist, or we can find Necromancy. And so we've got kind of a 1-card win condition in Final Parting, where we put our Razaketh in the graveyard, put our Persist in hand, and then we can just go into a reanimator strategy. Do the exact same things we were going to do with Kaalia anyway, but just do them the old-fashioned way. Bin them and then bring them out. You've got Unmarked Grave and Lively Dirge that can also put stuff into your graveyard. Buried Alive. This can help for your Underworld Breach piles also. When you're setting up a breach pile, you can use your Buried Alive to put your Stitcher Supplier in the graveyard, or just put extra fuel in. So when you're trying to do the kind of infinite graveyard sculpt, you've got more cards in the graveyard, which is kind of exactly what you need a lot of the time. Sometimes you'll just use your lively dirge to find your Grim Servant. I did this in Goldfishing quite a lot, actually. You can find your Grim Servant and put it directly into play for 5 mana, so it turns into a basically a 5 mana tutor. And not the best thing, but it's just that flexible. Lively Dirge just does a lot of things that you want to do in the deck. Faithless Looting, MVP in this deck. This will help you a lot when you're going through your breach lines, adding a little additional fuel for Underworld Breach. It's going to be our poor man, like really poor man's DRC. DRC is like $1 something. Anyway, yeah, so we also have tutors, obviously. We've got tutors in the deck, and our main tutor targets are going to be at the 2 and 3 mana cost, and I kind of did that on purpose. So when we're transitioning into our reanimator strategy, if we find one tutor, Demure Machinations, well, say we find one of our pieces, either Buried Alive or Unmarked Grave, to put something in the bin. One of these is 2 mana, one of them is 3 mana. Then we can find one of our transmutes, either Demure Machinations or the one I can never remember the name of, Shred Memory, which is ironic. Yeah, it shredded my memory. So we can, we have a Shred Memory and a Demure Machination. So we've got transmutes at 3 and 2 CMC. And we also have entomb effects at 3 and 2 CMC. We also have reanimation effects at 2 and 3 CMC. Necromancy at 3 and persist at 2. And so that kind of helps us layer so that all of our combo pieces work together. We can find Unmarked Grave. If we have Unmarked Grave, we just need to find a tutor. Doesn't matter which one. Any tutor will do. Same with if we have Buried Alive. We just need to find a tutor. Doesn't matter which one. Any tutor will do. We also have Wishclaw Talisman, which will literally just find the exact thing you need. But it is usually going to be either Underworld Breach, which you can find with Shred Memory, or a Entomb or Reanimate effect, which you can find with Shred Memory, or Demure Machinations, or Runescarred Demon. So this is a tutor that you can drop into play. So if you swing with Kaalia, you've got your Runescarred Demon in play. You get a big fat attack, and then you can tutor for Florian, then and drop Florian, and then dig 8 cards deep that exact turn, and then even more moving forward after that. What I have found is this deck gets off the ground pretty quick, and it's often threatening wins. So honestly, I guess how I would try to explain this is, if you have a good hand, honestly, you're going to probably, like if you have a really good hand, you're probably going to skip Kaalia, and you're just going to win the game on turn 4. But all of your hands are going to have Kaalia in them, and the Kaalia plan is very, very, very consistently going to threaten a win on turn 5. So that's kind of the way I found the deck. Goldfishing is you're either going to have a really good non-commander reliant hand and go for a turn 3, usually turn 4 win. You can do turn 3, it can happen. But mostly it's more like turn 4. I mean, turn 3 is going to look more like just naturally drawing your combo pieces, like just drawing into Underworld Breach, Stitcher Supplier, and at least Infernal Plunge to get it started, to get it kicked off, or like to naturally drawing into some of your mana batteries and rituals like Simian Spirit Guide, Skirk Prospector, and then just happening to have Dual Caster Mage and Twin Flame in hand. Sometimes you can just do a turn 3 win, but most of the time a good hand is going to get you to present a win on turn 4, and an average, mediocre, even below average hand is going to get the turn 5 threat. And the nice thing too is, even after you're doing your turn 5 threats with Kaalia, with your Kaalia hands, if you're stopped, it's very easy to transition to one of your other plans. It's hard to say which is the main plan. It's just really going to depend on your pod composition, your hand, and maybe even to some degree your play style and kind of what you think. And I say turn 5, but a lot of the times that is because I could have tried to push for a win on turn 4, or I could wait a turn and go for a protected win. And I mean, usually that means protecting Kaalia. I think you could actually jam more of these blacksmith skills. I was a little bit skeptical about them. I didn't know quite how good they would be. But then as I started goldfishing the deck, I thought, no, these are actually really, really helpful. These are kind of exactly what you want in hand when you're trying to win the game with Kaalia, when you're doing that thing. How are we doing on time? 35 minutes. I'd love to do goldfishing. I don't know if... we'll take a look at a couple hands. Alright, so what do we have first? So this is interesting. I don't think we'd keep this just because we don't have any ramp, but it's not too far-fetched. If we did Unmarked Grave, we would already be getting pretty close to Delirium. We'd have Sorcery, and Path to Exile is an instant. The creature that we put into the graveyard with Unmarked Grave would be a creature. This is tempting, but just not having all of our colors and not having ramp, I think we'd go to a second 7. Still no ramp, but we've got like everything else we want. Yeah, this one's tough. Tough. I don't know if we actually want to try to run this out. Yeah, let's go for it. Let's see what this looks like. This is a little bit sketchy. We really would want some sort of protection piece. I mean, ramp piece. Going to turn 2, where we're gonna... we played that wrong. We should have turn 1, Stitcher Supplier. I know this is gonna mess things up a little bit, but whatever. Use your imagination. That should have been turn 1, and then turn 2 should look like this, where we're gonna have to force feed a little bit of to get this guy into play. We're gonna go turn 3. We still don't have a... So here's the spot where we'd have to make a decision. Do we want to tutor? Yeah, I think what we'd do here is we would transmute Demure Machinations into Dualcaster Mage to have sort of a backup. Or a finisher. Alright, and then we're going to go to our turn 4. Oh, now we get the ramp piece. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we get to play our Kaalia, and we're not at all shields down because we've got the Benevolent Bodyguard in play. So if somebody does try to kill our Kaalia, we can sacrifice it. Sacrifice this to save the Kaalia. And not to, I mean, aside from that, we're just pretty close to being able to just naturally cast our kill condition. So we go to our turn 5. Yeah, so decisions. We've got 2 types in the graveyard. So what I'm thinking is we could... I think the most obvious thing is just to go for Demonic Council for a nastier demon than Runescarred Demon. We can just go ahead and just immediately get our Razaketh to hand. You wouldn't have to do that though, right? Like you could just... Okay, so let's say we don't do that, actually. Obviously, that's the thing we could do. We could be turn 5, and we could cheat our Razaketh into play, and we'd have 1, 2, 3 creatures that we could sacrifice, and we would definitely be able to assemble a win. And this is what you're going to do probably most of the time when you're going for your turn 5 win. It's going to look something like this. But being that we already have something to drop into play, what we might do instead of casting Demonic Counsel is we might leave that in the library. We might just go to combat, drop this guy into play, and then find a ritual. But most of the time, you would just be going for this play line. So you'd be bashing into somebody. You'd put your Razaketh in play because you would have used this to get it. And now you can tutor up a ritual. Say we'd get, we could go into the Underworld Breach line right here. We could sacrifice the Stitcher Supplier, mill more stuff into the graveyard, find Underworld Breach, sacrifice Kaalia, or Benevolent Bodyguard, probably Kaalia. Sacrifice Kaalia to find the Culling the Weak, and then we would just go right into our Culling the Weak Stitcher Supplier line, and then we would use that combo to eventually find, well, not only we'd be making all kinds of mana and putting our mana rocks in to convert the black mana into red mana, we'd find our Infernal Plunge eventually and make 3 red mana. We'd eventually find our Mayhem Devil, and we'd put our Mayhem Devil in play, and then do our Dualcaster Mage with Electro Duplicate, which is the same thing as Twin Flame, and then we'd put all the Dualcaster Mages into play. And this is the reason I thought Mayhem Devil was so important in the deck, and it really is. It really does need to be in the deck. Just for this sort of situation, a lot of our comboing is probably going to go off post-combat. And so we need the Mayhem Devil because we can't swing with infinite Dualcaster Mages. But at the end of turn, when we sacrifice all of our Dualcaster Mages, we can ping our opponents to death with the Mayhem Devil. So there you go. That's probably, honestly, this is what it's going to look like most of the time when you play the deck. It's going to look kind of like this. Note that it's not at all important that we had these cards in our hand. We would have gotten there just as easy without them. With them in the graveyard. Because we just would have started up the Stitcher Supplier, Culling the Weak combo, and we would have just went off that way. We would have grabbed our Underworld Breach and then started doing the Culling the Weak Stitcher Supplier line. Honestly, it didn't really matter that we had these in play, or in our hand. So that's the deck. That's it, guys. I think it's really, really cool. I don't want to do any more play tests because we're already past 40 minutes. All right. Until next we meet. Word to your mother and your father. Word to your collective mother. Our one and true collective mother, Mother Gaia. Word to Gaia. East side until I die. West side also. But not the south side. That's crazy. Don't be crazy. Namaste, bitch. It's a little hard. Namaste, no. I was going to say whores, but we don't want to do that. Namaste, nerds.